Hey everyone, welcome. It's Professor Thomas here with Genius Hack number 1, chewing gum. Before we get started, let's go ahead and define what exactly is a genius hack, since this is the first one. A genius hack is some type of a shortcut or a secret tip to help us get smart faster. It's an advantage that we have on the Genius team. So first one is chewing gum. Did you know that if you have chewing gum before you do any mental task, it actually helps warm up your brain? Chewing gum before 10-15 minutes before you actually go into an exam, chewing gum while you're in the exam, chewing gum before going to class, that's a difficult class, or if you're at the Genius Combine and you're doing some training, chewing gum is going to help you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown of what exactly is going on when you're chewing gum. So first things first, if you look up here at the top, it says repetitive chewing motion helps mental processes. How and why can that possibly be? A, it says it improves working memory. This is decision-making behavior. What choice is the best answer choice on an ACT exam? It helps improve your working memory. B, it helps improve your episodic memory. Now, what is episodic memory? Kids, you learn this in class with Professor Thomas. It's a different name for the genius brain. Questions about who, what, where, when, why, and how. When you ask those questions, you're able to retrieve information from past prior experiences using the genius brain. Episodic memory helps improve that. C, increases the speed of perception. Let's define perception. Perception is the interpretation of sensory information. When you see something, what does that mean? And finally, the last one, D, it increases your mental alertness. In particular, mint gum, spearmint or peppermint works the best. And when I say alertness, if you're tired, this will help you kind of wake up a little bit. Mint is the best. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this actually works. There's 3 processes, 3 things we need to talk about in dealing with brain chemistry. So number 1, serotonin is increased when you chew gum. Number 2, cortisol is inhibited. And 3, we increase oxygen to our brain between 20 and 40%. So let's go ahead and talk a teeny bit more basically about brain chemistry. Number 1, serotonin. When you chew gum, serotonin is increased. How is that? First, the definition of serotonin, it's the feel-good, happy chemical neurotransmitter in your brain that makes you feel relaxed. It helps you learn. It opens up your mind to new ideas and basically helps you feel good, serotonin. So how is serotonin increased in the brain when we chew bubblegum or sugarless gum? First things first, when you chew, there's a nerve that runs down your jawbone. It's called the trigeminal or fifth cranial nerve. What actually happens here is when you chew, there's an electrical signal from the trigeminal nerve that goes into the brain stem and helps produce a little bit of serotonin. Now keep in mind, the majority of serotonin is made in your gut, about 90%, but the gut serotonin does not cross the blood-brain barrier, so that's not what affects your brain. The serotonin that's important is the serotonin that's produced in the brainstem. That's why the trigeminal nerve and the fifth cranial nerve, those things help you produce more serotonin that actually helps you focus and feel better. Second thing is the trigeminal nerve or the fifth cranial nerve in the jaw muscles. That is innervated with the cranial blood vessels, in particular the largest one called the dura. So basically, what does that mean? When you chew, an electrical signal from the trigeminal nerve will hit and innervate the cranial blood vessels and increase or dilate to increase blood flow to the brain. When you have more blood flow to the brain, what actually happens there is serotonin is released. Finally, the last thing here is cortisol. So cortisol and serotonin are 2 things that kind of fight each other. Serotonin makes you feel good, and cortisol is known as the stress hormone. So stress hormone is produced in the adrenal gland, and basically what it does is it inhibits memory. So our memory is gonna kind of just get cold. Why is that? Because of something called the fight or flight mechanism. Now, back in primitive days when we were trying to avoid getting eaten by a woolly mammoth or some type of a large animal, we would use the fight or flight mechanism to basically escape. It's going to shut down the blood flow to your brain and send that blood flow to your skeletal muscles so you can run away faster. So keep in mind, when you're stressed out from a test or when you're stressed out from anything, you're going to be producing cortisol. This is super important because cortisol affects the way that you retrieve information from your memory. Big problem. If you're overproducing cortisol and because you're stressed out on a test, you're not going to test as well. So what we want to do is we want to try and block cortisol. How can we do that? Chewing gum. And finally, cortisol reduces blood flow to the brain. It's called a constrictor. It takes the blood vessel and kind of squeezes it so not as much blood gets to the brain. And we already know that when we have lots of blood flowing to the brain, we have more oxygen, and our brain is going to work much better when we have oxygenated blood in our brain. So keep in mind, when you're stressed out, you produce cortisol, and there will be less blood flowing to your brain because of that. Also, fight or flight mechanism. Let's do a quick review. Genius hack number 1, gum, when you chew it, helps produce the memory-inducing biochemical neurotransmitter in your brain called serotonin. Also, it helps inhibit cortisol, which is the fight or flight mechanism, which inhibits memory retention. And also, by chewing gum, it's going to increase the blood flow to your brain. Genius hack number 1, kids, before you come into Genius Combine or you take a practice test or anything, just pop in some of the Genius gum that we have, start chewing 5-10 minutes before you actually start working, and feel free to continue chewing it. Now, during the exam, you probably aren't going to be able to chew the gum. However, before the test, you'd be able to chew, and then on the break, you'd be able to chew. When you go back in, just simply pull it out. That's it. Genius hack number 1, kids. Chewing gum. Bye for now.